From the people behind We're In Too Deep Together, this is Milk Diaries, your go-to podcast for anything related to BL and Boys Love series. Each episode of Milk Diaries focuses on one BL series, our real in-depth discussion of our favorite shows. I'm Robin from Together Podcast and Brightwind Weekly. Join me and my guests on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or anywhere you listen to podcasts as we talk about our favorite BL series, favorite BL actors with our friends from the ever-growing BL community. If you've never listened to either We're In Too Deep Together or Brightwind Weekly, please search Together Podcast on YouTube or check out your podcast app to listen. To stay updated on this podcast and all Together Podcast projects, follow us at Together Podcast on all platforms. All right, I'm super stoked for today's show. Today's guest is a well-known BL content creator across all kinds of platforms: YouTube, Facebook, IG, Twitter, TikTok, you name it, and he's there. He's also an advocate for the LGBTQIA community and other social issues in the Philippines. He's a Brightwind Ninang. For anyone who doesn't speak Tagalog, that means godmother, and the #1 fan of Tawan in the Philippines. I present Jumar. Hi, Jumar. Say hi.
Hello, Robin. Hello.
Hello. So,
hello. Thank you, Milk Diaries.
So Jumar, very quickly, for we will talk about all these things later. Can you tell us more of your pages? It seems like you're doing a lot. You are who we want to be someday.
No way. Anyway, just like you guys, I am part of a group called Brightwind Ninangs. So Ninangs mean godmothers. So we claim ourselves. We are 4 in the group. We claim ourselves to be the godmothers in the Philippines of Bright and Win. So because of our love for Brightwind and BL, we decided to do a live stream show Thursday nights. So we're on our 3rd season right now. We're doing it every other Thursday of the month. And you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, Brightwind Ninangs, and on our Twitter, BW Ninangs, and also Instagram and Facebook, Brightwind Ninangs. And personally, I also have my pages and my channels. So it's Jomar. My name is Jomar because, some people call me Jumar. Some people call me Jomar. So what I did, I just, call myself Jomar, and now everyone calls me Jomar. So I have a Jomar Facebook page and Jomar YouTube channel. You can subscribe to that channel. Also my Instagram and Twitter. Because I'm a film graduate. That's my degree. So I really love watching movies and TV shows, videos. So it's my... I made it a personal project to actually, during the pandemic, I made it a personal project to come up with this channel where I can share my views, my actions, my thoughts and feels to everything I watch, to the movies and the TV shows we love.
That's why we're so happy to have you here today. So we're going to make this a new tradition. This is episode 3 of Milk Diaries, and we kind of want to get something going here. So I want you to just introduce yourself, not introduce yourself, but just tell us who your favorite BL actor is. Just one. I know it's going to be hard. And also your all-time favorite BL series and the BL series that you're currently watching right now. If anybody doesn't know my personal ones, you can see it on at Together Podcast. So yeah, just visit our IG. You'll see it. You'll see my favorites there. I'm not going to tell you here. Sorry. But go ahead, Jumar.
Okay. So before I answer your question, if our Brightwind Ninangs viewers followers are listening or watching this podcast right now, I am inviting you to follow Together Podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and their social media accounts. Subscribe to their YouTube channel, Together Podcast, Twitter, IG, and also their Facebook page.
Thank you so much.
To answer Robin's questions, my favorite BL actor um, um, is Tata One. I love him so much. Such a great. I love him as an actor and as a person. And so far, my all-time favorite BL series is I Told Sunset About You, starring Bilkin and PP. And the BL series I'm currently watching are the Korean BL Light on Me and the Thai BL Golden Blood.
Oh, same.
There you go.
Those are actually my answers. Whoops. So that's kind of appropriate because if you can't guess from Jumar's favorite BL series, what we're going to talk about today is, do we have that drum roll yet? I've been pushing for a drum roll and Justin won't give me a drum roll. So let's just, okay. I Told Sunset About You, if you couldn't tell from our intro. I am really excited.
Surprise. I am excited to talk about this. I've talked about I Told Sunset About You a lot of times, and whenever I discuss this with friends and with fellow fans, Robin, in the Philippines we call it bula bibig.
Okay.
So, okay, I will explain to you what bula bibig is. Are you ready to bula bibig? Are you ready to bula bibig about
I am.
I Told Sunset About You?
Yes, let's do it.
Anyway, when we are passionately talking about something we really, really love, we call it bula bibig. Bula is mouth.
Okay.
I have to ask you to picture this so that you can understand this. So bula is mouth and bula is bubbles,
Okay. Bubbles.
and bibig is mouth.
Bibig. Okay.
It's like bubbles
I get it.
out of your mouth.
Yeah, you can't stop.
Like,
yeah.
In context, like you can't stop talking about it. So that's bula ang bibig.
Bula bibig. Did I say it right? I want to say it right.
Bula bibig, yes. So I'm excited to discuss this again, this time with you, the team of Together Podcast. So thank you actually for
if anybody hasn't yet listened to Bright Wind Weekly, I think that's going to air before this episode of Pink Milk Diaries, but Jomar was our guest for Bright Wind Weekly and we already had a great time there. We're going to have a great time here. So let's just jump right into our first segment. Our first segment is boy love versus boy hate, as in, oh boy, I love it, and oh boy, I hate it. So our first item, are you ready? Are you ready? Can you stand it?
I am ready. I am ready, Robin. Let's do it.
Let's go. So the first item on our agenda for BL or BH is in I Told Sunset About You. There's this transition that takes place in between the relationship of our two lead characters, Oao and Te. And they start out as friends and then they transition to being rivals. And then they go back, to being friends, and then they find that they actually fall in love. So this transition from enemies to friends to love. I personally, for you, do you love it or do you hate it? And you please phrase your answer, oh boy, I love it, or oh boy, I hate it.
Oh boy, I love it. I love it so much. Actually, I love it so much because it's not your typical plot storyline for a BL.
Yeah.
And that is one thing I love the most about I Told Sunset About You. And before watching
go
before watching I Told Sunset About You, I've seen a lot of BLs. You know, the Together, Still Together, the So Tos, all the famous BLs because I told Sunset About You premiered last May, I think, May 2020 or April, somewhere around that time. So oh no. Um, October or
Yeah, I think it
November
was a little
2020.
later in 2020. Yeah.
Late 2020. It premiered late 2020. So I've seen a lot of BLs before I've seen I Told Sunset About You. And
So you had a little
you
idea
know,
of like how general BL tropes and BL plots go already.
exactly. So when I saw I Told Sunset About You, and it has a very different story from the previous ones I've seen. Oh boy, I love it. There you go. I love
I
it
have
so
to
much.
agree. I have to agree. Oh boy, I love it. And I think that thing where it's an atypical BL is going to happen again, and we're going to run into that in this conversation over and over and over again. So the second item is the setting in Phuket. It's so different from the rest of the series. I think most of them take place in Bangkok. We've got like Tale of a Thousand Stars that takes place closer to Chiang Mai, but I love like the setting of Phuket. How do you feel about that?
Oh boy, I love it. I love it again. What I love about, well, it's Phuket is very beautiful. So
Mm.
watching BL series set in Bangkok, of course, we all want to go to Bangkok,
Yeah.
and
Well,
then
yeah.
here's I Told Sunset About You set in the beautiful province of Phuket, and then oh no, I would love to go to Phuket also. It's so beautiful there, and I love that Phuket itself is actually like a character in the story of I
Yeah.
Told Sunset About.
Yeah. Yeah.
They make
Yeah.
it like
So
that.
that's actually the third item for this segment is the cinematography.
Okay.
The way the whole thing is shot, and how they use the natural setting and the and everything to portray like the emotions and the themes that are present in the show. So, oh boy, I love that it's shot in Phuket, and actually, the destination. It's become a destination. We talk a lot in Brightwind Weekly and we're in Too Deep Together about going to Bangkok, about like camping out outside of the GMMTV
Okay,
building,
GMM.
and sitting down in the Starbucks and staying there for the rest of our lives. But actually, I want to go to Phuket. And actually, it's interesting fact. During COVID, Phuket's economy is mostly oriented around tourism, but
Yes.
during COVID, that hasn't been true. But once the disease, there was like that initial surge of COVID. Once Thailand at that time had gotten that sort of under control, uh, the tourism based off of I Told Sunset About You actually brought the industry there back up a little bit, and there were like news stories about it
Wow.
there. Yeah, so that's the power of BL.
Yes.
But yeah, as for the third item, the cinematography, you went to school for film, right?
I did, yes, in
Yeah.
college.
So as a film graduate, what is your what is your opinion of the cinematography of I
Oh.
Told Sunset About You?
Oh boy, I love it. I
Yeah.
mean, it's very cinematic, and I Told Sunset About You is very cinematic and has an amazing cinematography. And that actually made it, um, it's like it set a standard
Right.
to BL series that you can actually make a BL series this good, look this
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. Yeah.
it's like every episode is very well directed, well produced, well lit, and it's like watching a movie per
Yeah.
episode
That's
because
so that's how,
and actually a big factor of this is the producer, the company, Nadao Bangkok, the producer of I Told Sunset
right.
About You. They actually have that brand. They have that standard. That so most of their series are actually very well produced. Their previous works are Great Win Academy. That's a BL series too, starring the 9 by 9 actors, and My Ambulance is one of their famous
Yeah,
previous
and
works.
that's where our two leads, they were previously. I haven't seen that series yet, but they were in that series, right? And I think that partially
Yes,
this series was written with them in mind, if I'm not
yes.
mistaken.
According to P. Boss, the director, he was also the director of My Ambulance. So, um, Bilkin and PP were supporting characters in My Ambulance, and
Yeah.
they gained a following. So, parang he thought of doing a show for them because they are having followers, and then here comes the story of I Told Sunset About You, made
Yeah.
for
So
Bilkin and PP.
that's actually so what you I feel like you're like, did you read our notes? Did you because our next item we didn't, so everybody, just so everybody knows, we didn't send Jomar the notes to
No,
this. On our
no.
notes, literally the next item is how each episode feels like a movie. um yeah, it's like a little movie. Actually an entire movie. It's like 5 movies
It's
about,
like
you know,
because
about
each
our
episode
characters.
each episode has more than 1 hour running time, so
Yeah.
it really feels like a movie, and
So how do you feel about the about how it feels like a movie?
I love it. Oh boy, I love it.
Yeah.
Really. Of
Oh,
course, when you watch a BL series, you're expecting what 13 episodes for the first series.
right.
So when I found out that it only has 5 episodes, and then after seeing the pilot episode, I kind of understood like, oh, so this is why it only has 5 episodes, because the story is fast paced in a way, but every episode, in the Philippines we call it siksik. A
Okay.
lot happened in one episode.
Yeah. That there's a level of complexity for the storyline and just the dynamics between the characters that is beautiful.
Yes.
And it's all so well thought out. I mean, they put a lot of time into this. So oh boy, I love that each episode is like a movie. Um, I'm gonna kind of shift and the music, yeah, the music in this show is beautiful. Just like in a movie, it's like the soundtrack to a movie. But not only that, our leads, Treat and Bilkin, actually sing for a lot of these songs. So
Yeah.
how do you feel about the soundtrack, the OST?
The music, the musical score, and the soundtrack. Oh boy, I love them all. And I have actually a very interesting story about this because
Yeah.
prior to I Told Sunset About You, I'm not aware of Bilkin, PP, and I Told Sunset About You as an upcoming series. So I discovered Bilkin on TikTok.
Oh
There
wow.
was a video. For some reason, it came to my algorithm. I saw a video of him singing Skyline. So I know it's a Thai song. I don't know Bilkin at that time, but Skyline is so beautiful. So because I kept playing it over and over again because it's just, even though I don't understand the words because it's in Thai,
Yeah.
I love the song so much. So I researched it, and then I found out it's called Skyline, sung by Bilkin. And then I researched about Bilkin, and then researching about Bilkin led me to research to finding out about an upcoming series called I Told Sunset About You. And then I searched the trailer, and then what an amazing trailer! So after that, it was really love at first sight hearing Bilkin singing Skyline. And during the year-end report of Spotify, like
Yeah.
what's your most
Right.
streamed
What do you
song?
listen to the most? Yeah.
In 2020, Skyline was my most streamed song.
It is
And
so good.
I just started streaming it October, and
Yeah.
then because it was on loop every
Yeah.
day. I
Right.
love the
Right.
song so much. So
Yeah,
I love
I
it.
must have listened to that song like 100 times in the last 2 hours of yesterday alone, because I just wanted to get into the I Told Sunset About You like mindset and feel it. So yeah, I can see how that's possible. For me, the story that I have from this, how I got introduced to this show, is the story of like almost every BL that I've watched. Is that my boyfriend, who is a BL fan too, also was like, this show looks good. And then he decided that he didn't want to watch it. And then we watched another show. And then I kept on seeing clips,
Which
and I was like,
one?
when are we gonna watch this? We have to watch this. And then I finally forced him to watch it. But he was holding me back from watching it for a long time, until I like, bullied him into it. I had to bully him, and then he loved it. So, yeah. So moving on to our
To add,
next. Go ahead. Yeah.
Robin, to add to your story, after watching the pilot episode, most of my fellow BL friends, they still don't know about I Told Sunset About You.
Yeah.
But after watching the pilot episode, I need
All
someone
your
to talk
friends
to.
knew.
I need someone to talk to. And then one by one, I forced them to watch it. And all of them, one by one, also
They
fell
did
in
watch
love
it.
with the show instantly. And all of us
Oh, how can you not?
bulabibated all the
I mean,
time.
just the storyline, like we're saying. I mean, it isn't just like each episode's a movie. It's like each episode is an LGBTQIA movie. Like it has that vibe. It has that feeling.
Yes.
Like you're not. Yeah. So it's common. This is not a negative. Obviously, I already spoiled everything when I said there wasn't any hate in this episode. In our what's that called? Anyway, it's okay. Actually, oh, I see a chat pop up. Justin, our producer, is telling us that Bright actually covered from Together, the series
Yeah, he
actually
did.
covered Bilkin. So that's a nice little tidbit, and that is one that Justin would know. Um, she is the Bright Stan of Together podcast. So yeah, I think there's just two more items that I want to cover here. One, or no, three. One is, how do you feel about the Chinese, the influence of Chinese culture here? It's about I think they met at a prep school. The second time that and OL met was at a prep school for Chinese language, and
Yes.
the use of Chinese characters to like broadcast the themes of I Told Sunset About You are there, and the music and just that feeling. I think in the Old Town Phuket, you just get that the Chinese architecture and everything. So how do you feel about that?
Um, um, oh boy, I love it. Only because while I was watching it and there are Chinese influences in the show, I got curious also to find out like how heavily influenced Thailand is of Chinese culture to actually incorporate, a Chinese opera, a Chinese TV show, and all of them learning Chinese language so they can be an Chinese, so they can be an actor abroad, which is in China.
Yeah.
I got curious of that aspect of the show, and but along the way watching I Told Sunset About You, I kind of understood it in a way, like they're just really influenced by Chinese, just like any
Yeah.
other nation, just like the Philippines.
Yeah. For me, it's really interesting because coming from the United States, here we're not really taught to like look outside our borders very much. And for me, it's different. It's always been different. I was raised kind of to like look outside what I find familiar. And clearly I'm watching BL series from other countries, and so for me it's cool to see another country look up to a different culture other than my culture. So oh boy, I love it. I love to see something that's just, it's different from what I usually see. Um,
That's a nice point of view.
yeah. So finally, I guess that the one thing that you can't escape when you're watching is Bilkin's acting, and I love PP Crit. I mean, he's great. He's a wonderful actor, but he Bilkin's acting is just next level. It's like it's incredible. Like he's able to portray so many emotions and so many feelings, and you immediately identify with what that character's experience is just from the way that he acts. So, and one thing that gives it away really is this, like the incredible amount of time that he spends pacing, because there's this energy, he doesn't know what to do with it. You know, he's playing a teenager who's coming to terms with like his life, and it was amazing. So how do you feel about that? About Bilkin's acting specifically?
Oh, Bilkin's acting, oh boy, I love it so much. And to tell you, and Justin, if you're listening, to tell you, in my BL actors ranking, after Tata One actually is Bilkin. He is,
Wow.
you know, he's my number two because I love him so much. He's very
Yeah.
talented, and of course, he's a great singer. I love listening to his songs, even though I don't understand the words because his voice is so good. And in terms of his acting, yeah, he had the most complex character in I Told Sunset About You as Te.
Yeah.
You know, the confused one. You know, and he did it so wonderfully. And you know, the nuances, and when he cries, it's
Yeah.
breaking my heart. It's like I want to cry also because you know he's you know the good actors are the ones who are not conscious of what would they look like, and you know he just
He
really
cries. He just
show his
does it.
emotion. So,
He just lets it
exactly.
out.
So
Yeah.
he's really good. And yes, of course, Pipi Crit is also a wonderful actor.
Justin wants us to know that she is also a fan of Skyline, and that she is also a Bilkin fan, and that she's been listening to it. So
Thank you,
thank
Justin.
you, Justin. Listen to it more. Let's make that like one of the most listened to songs on Spotify. Let's do it. So, you know, when I first started to watch, we're going to move on from this segment. When I first started to watch BL series, I felt like a void of something had been filled. Like I was saying before, like I spent, we were talking earlier, I think, I spent a lot of time in my youth watching straight series. And I just, like, it was fine. It's fine. It's okay. But I feel like our community, the LGBTQIA community, has been marginalized, obviously, all around the world. You know, I'm lucky to live where I do. Not everybody's so fortunate. And even within my own country, I'm lucky to live where I do. I live in Massachusetts. That's a very, you know, liberal place to be. It was like the first state in our country to legalize gay marriage. But you know, still culturally, there's this thing called heterosexism where people assume that people are straight. So the baseline assumption is that you're straight. So we have to work through more than other people do. So our next segment is called "It's a Pick Milk Thing," and it's about how BL issues relate specifically to LGBTQIA people. Even though, like you were saying in Brightwing Weekly, actually, you were saying that yes, BL is marketed towards straight women, but I think also like that's true. Like the foundation of BL, right, is yaoi in Japan, the manga from Japan, and then Thailand took it and ran with that, and I think that it's become like there's a bigger LGBTQIA fan base in Thailand of BL than there is in Japan. Although I don't want to, if there are Japanese listeners, I don't want to upset you. Don't worry, you're big fans too. But so let's just talk about it. Let's just talk about how this relates to LGBTQIA issues and life in general. Like nothing separate. Yeah. So with a lot of BL series, there are characters who struggle with how they feel when they're basically they feel like they're straight. The assumption is that they're straight for their entire lives. And my experience was kind of strange because I always assumed that I would be straight. I was told I would be straight. And then at a certain age, I started realizing all these things that had been happening. Like I was always drawn to look at boys more than girls, even though I would play husband and wife with a girl, which, you know, come to think about it, is kind of gay. But that you would be playing that game. But yeah, so I assumed that. And then I met someone and we were playing and we hung out, and then he left. And then I felt like this hole in my heart. And I was like, oh no. And that's the moment that I knew I was gay. So Tay has a similar experience, not exactly the same, but has a similar experience where, you know, there's something going on in his feelings for a while, and he doesn't want to admit it to himself, even going to the point of telling him to chase someone else and going after a girl himself. So what is your take on that? Like, and you can please bring your own experience into it if you want to. But yeah, let's talk about that.
Yeah, I think regarding that, one of the best things I love about I Told Sunset About You is actually it being relatable. The entire story is very relatable, and the characters are very relatable. And if you actually think of it, it's a very ordinary story, but done in a very extraordinary way.
Yeah,
So that's why
I like that.
I Told Sunset About You is such a masterpiece, like a work of art, because you know the writing and how it was directed, it was very beautiful. So and regarding Tess' character, um, yeah, it's very relatable for me also because, of course, growing up, you know, because I'm a 90s baby, you know.
Yeah.
During that time, it's very heteronormative. Like, you know, you can't be gay. Being gay is this. Being gay is that. So at a young age, the same thing with you, Robin. You know, I feel all these kinds of things. I'm drawn to men, looking at boys. So, but you know, society is telling you that it's only men for women and women for men. You know, so there's a part of you trying to conceal that truth inside of you, like, okay, so I can't be gay because it's wrong, it's a sin. And in that manner, I have related to Tess hardship, you know, with his own feelings, with his own truth of not fully embracing who he is, just because what the society is dictating us to be the norm, which is, you know, be with a because you're a guy, be with a girl. And so even though he's feeling some things for Oweo, he kissed Oweo, he loves to be with Oweo, he wakes up Oweo at 4 a.m. and helps him review for the exam. he he's still afraid to actually commit to Oweo and you know, tell Oweo that he is actually in love with him. And I love that we have these kind of stories right now, and that younger people are actually watching BL series, and they are actually seeing that, oh, that's my story. I'm watching my story.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's
That's
okay to be like that.
yeah, that's one thing that I love about BL series, is that they bring us into a world where being gay is okay. The automatic assumption is that being gay is okay. I was a little skeptical when I first read the synopsis, because I always do that. I always like do research on a BL series, and I'm very much like that. And I saw that it was another coming of age story, and I was like, I don't know if I want to watch this. And then I watched the trailer, and then I was like, yes, I want to watch this. And then I saw clips and I was like, I definitely want to watch this. But, you know, I want to specifically, like for me, I related to where the confusion that that feels when he has a girlfriend, basically, but he feels this attraction and love to another man. My experience is a little different because I came out as gay, or I was outed as gay, and then like I kind of like stepped back a little bit from that and like didn't want to be involved in it, and like I knew, but like I denied it to myself, even to the point where I had a girlfriend and a boyfriend at the same time that didn't know about each other. And like I felt like a terrible person, and like just like that. And like I to the point where my girlfriend actually called me and said, I think you're gay, and I think I am too. So I think we should break up.
Ooh.
And then we did, and then she just hung up. She said, okay, bye. And then I was like, and then this weight lifted, and I was like, you know, like that's terrible that I put her through that. It's terrible that I put myself and my boyfriend through that. But you know, I felt free after that. And you know, there's this really tough scene in I Told Sunset About You. I think episode 4, if I'm wrong. I could be wrong, but I think episode 4, where Tae is sitting down, and because they had previous episodes where Tae was sitting down with Tarn, his girlfriend, and she was drawing, she was sketching, and she would have a timer,
Yeah.
And you know, they would be cute and like do their thing, but then he would go off and leave to tutor OL. I'll just say O so people can't hear my terrible pronunciation, but to go off and tutor O. But in this scene in episode 4, there's no like any of that cuteness that was in between them is gone. De is completely consumed for his feelings for O, and he basically they come to a realization, and it's not a happy one, that they're gonna have to part ways. And Dea gets up and starts pacing, and she's very sad, but you can tell that there's this sense of relief that he feels at the same time. He's free to feel the way he feels, you know. So I had a moment like,
which scene is this? The one they were drawing a grass area?
yes, that one.
Okay. Oh, because it was in episode 4 actually.
Yeah.
So you're right. It was in episode 4. So Tarn intentionally wore a purple floral bra.
Oh, just like the scene in episode 2 where she had the hibiscus.
Yeah. Because in episode 2, Te actually told Tarn that I'm seeing your bra.
Yeah, right. He was distracted. He said hibiscus, the name of the flower on the bra, and then she goes,
the name of the
talking about hibiscus.
And then in this scene in episode 4, this is the part where Tarn is actually testing Te if he would notice the bra she was wearing, which is color purple. So he asked Te to color the flower drawing on his sketchboard, and instead she was expecting Te to choose color purple.
Yeah,
because that would mean he noticed she was wearing the color purple bra, but
yes.
Te picked the color red, and that was it's like
O
it
is
made her
always
realize.
wearing red. O is
It's
always
parang
wearing red. He has that red jacket.
and
There's the scene where he tries on a red bra, and yeah, so
and the red flower on
the red
his
flower, yeah.
on his period, yeah. But that was a realization scene for Tarn actually.
Yeah.
That scene she realized that, oh no, he doesn't like me really that much, because he didn't notice my bra. He
Yeah,
didn't
he's not.
pick the
So
the I love how symbolic the choices are. I love the
yeah,
symbolism used in this show. That's why I love one of the many reasons why I love I Told Sunset About You, because you
right.
know they they don't do it explicitly like how most
Yeah,
series.
it's very
It,
subtle. Everything is very
it's
subtle.
very subtle and very
Mm,
poetically done. It's very symbolic. It's not in your face, but
right.
you'll understand it very much through these images that they've been
Yeah.
showing you, and I love that about it.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Um, so yeah, so I think that's a story that that's a story that a lot of LGBTQ people are going to find familiar. They've been living a life that's not authentic to who they are,
Yeah.
and then they realize something comes up where they realize that they can't continue on the path that they were going on. Um,
Yes.
so, have you had experiences like that?
Oh, yes. I actually also had a girlfriend back in high school. It was third to fourth year in high school. So, um, um of course, growing up, um, people would always tell me, or I would always hear murmurs of me being gay and how they will talk to my grandma or to my mom or to my dad of them thinking I think Jomar is gay because he's a little softer than his brothers, So, but of course, with the pressure of the society, and also the people around you telling you being gay is wrong. There's also that denial inside of me, and I'm trying to conceal that truth. So even though I was in high school already, I'm still trying to actually conceal that. Even though I would hear a lot of comments about me believing I am gay because I'm a very I move softer than most boys. So I fully expressed myself when I was in college already, because this is actually the part where I am also I find more relatable to the Phuket scene because I also grew up in the province, and when I moved to the city, which is here in Manila. I studied here, so away from my family, I'm living independently. And then in school, I'm meeting a lot of these people who are very comfortable with who they are. So that also inspired me to express myself 100%, like
So
express myself who I really am.
I'm in high school though I want to kind of like focus on that because I didn't deny it to myself when I was in high school. I just kind of didn't want it was like I didn't want the appearance I didn't want people to not like me. I was outed, so like other people would come up to me and they would say things that were very like bullying. There was an incident that happened, and they would like use that incident and iterations as stories that people told about this incident to like bully me. So I kind of used a person to like to stand in between us. But in high school, were you denying it to yourself still, or did you like inside yourself, or were you honest with yourself and you knew?
Um, um, I would say I am denying it to myself,
Mhm.
trying to be what the people and the society expected me to be. But of course, deep inside, I know I'm feeling towards men. I'm attracted to men.
Yeah.
I'm having a crush on my male classmates or schoolmates. But somehow I question that. I conceal that feeling, and I it's it's not like I didn't really love the girlfriend that I had, but
Yeah.
if it seemed like I used her, I don't think I used her, but in reality, if it looks like I actually used her, then I'm sorry, but that wasn't the intention.
Yeah.
I am trying to be what the society is wants me to be. and that's the internal struggle really. And um, I love that knowing younger gays right now, and at a very young age they can fully express themselves. I am very very happy to see that, you know,
Yeah.
how I wish also I could have done that at a younger age.
Yeah.
You
What I love to see in the younger gays is that there isn't this tendency to like just take homophobia sitting down. Like there was this pressure before that where even when I was out like 18, 19, 20, I would hear slurs against gay people or trans people and I wouldn't say anything because there's this pressure to like to just accept it. And they're like, "Oh, by the way, Robin, I don't mean you." And I'm like, "But that doesn't make it okay just because you don't mean me." Um, and so yeah, I love that freedom to actually confront that. And I just it gives me that, you know. Um, yeah, BL series are like part of that, you know, normalizing.
exactly.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes,
and
family has a very important role actually.
yeah, definitely.
While 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 I wouldn't say that my family, you know, asked me to be straight.
Yeah,
Nothing like that happened. But you know, it's just that there were instances before because my grandma raised me because my mom is in Japan and my parents are separated. So it's not always that our my dad is with us. So
yeah,
basically, my grandma raised us three boys. All of us are boys. So I am the eldest. So you know, but you know, when you would, there were instances I would hear, like the neighbors or the relatives would say to my grandma, "Is Jomar gay? Is Jomar gay? Because he's so soft." And I would hear my lola answer, my grandma answer,
yeah,
"No, he's not. He's not gay. He's not gay." Something like that. So you know, so I would feel like okay, so because my grandma are telling people I am not gay, I am trying to be that, to be not
yeah,
gay.
yeah. You feel this kind of like implicit pressure
Yeah,
to be what everybody expects you to be. And the thing is that yeah, that's the same story with my family or a similar story. You know, I was an only child, so I think there was some pressure too. Like I felt like I shouldn't be queer because you know, I have to continue the family name and whatever this traditional idea, even though my family's not like that. My family's not very religious. They went to church, come from an Irish Catholic, Swedish Catholic background. So like, so they're Catholic. So we would go to church from like special occasions. I didn't really know what I thought about it, but I just had this idea. I knew that the church didn't want people to be gay. I knew
yeah.
that my family assumed that everybody was straight. You know, I was gonna go to school, get good grades, meet a girl, fall in love, go to prom with a girl. Yeah, go to high school, or I mean, go to college,
I just,
get married to a woman, and there's that implicit like assumption that you're going to be straight, and that alone puts pressure on you to be straight. So yeah,
and I would just like to add that
yeah,
my grandma loves me. You know,
yeah,
I am telling my grandma loves me so much. I think looking back with those memories right now, she was just answering that way. Well, but my lola is, you know, very very Catholic up until now. But you
yeah,
know, when I was younger, and I would hear she would answer that way to our relatives or to our neighbors. I think she's also coming from, you know, these people are pressuring her to answer if I am gay. So you know, she would just say, no, he's not gay. Plus being, she's very Catholic, you know, and you know,
yeah.
she reads the Bible and
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, it's kind of natural just to make that assumption, but she still loves you for who you are.
yes, yes,
Yeah, that's
I love her so much.
similar to my grandmother. She believes in God. She prays. She does all of that. But then she will talk to me, and yeah, and she yeah, she says, I love you, I don't mind. Like there's a story that my grandmother told me actually, in the 70s there was somebody who babysat for her kids, um, and he came up to her and he was like, so by the way, I'm gay, is it okay that I babysit your kids? And she was just like, oh yeah. And then my
Wow.
grandfather came home and she asked him, so the babysitter told me he's gay, do you know what that means? And he just laughed at her, and and he goes, and he said, it's fine. It's okay. He explained it and he said, it's okay. So like my family was very liberal, actually, if you think about it. But like specifically, they weren't put in a position where they had to like stake out a place. And I think that's why, these things progress socially, is because people are forced, they're confronted with the position that people are not going to live a lie anymore. And they're
Yeah.
forced to love those people or push them out of their life. And
Yeah.
now we're almost getting to that point, at least in the US and Europe, where you're actually actively shunned if you don't accept LGBTQIA people. Whereas just 20 years ago, that wasn't the case. And
That
I want
wasn't
to
the
see that
case at
happen
all.
everywhere, you know? Yeah. Um, in a way, do you think your grandmother may have been protecting you by saying that? Maybe she said no, he's not gay, so that people wouldn't talk about you that way and bully you and stuff.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Because I I think she is indeed protecting me. Looking at it back now, thinking about it right now, because she I never felt like she hated me. She loves me so much. She supports me in everything. She's my number one fan. She's very proud of me. So I think it's really yes. It's she was trying to protect me at the time.
That kind of reminds me of the relationship between Dad and his mom, actually, that she doesn't know actually that he loves, um, oh, but at the same time, she accepts him for whatever happens. She's mad at him once when he gives up his position in school. But she gets to the point where he doesn't get his chosen spot in university, but she still tells him, I love you no matter what university you're accepted to. I'm proud of you no matter what, in any situation. And I
Exactly,
just,
and
that was so empowering, you know?
that was so empowering. The family stories in I Told Sunset About You are so beautifully written, and um, there were no discussions about actually Te and Oweo being gay. You
Yeah.
know, there's a lot of love in how they showcase the family stories. In Tess' case, the mom accepted Te when he didn't, pass the first campus he chose for college. And that very very one of my favorite scenes in the whole series was that conversation of Te with his brother Hoon.
Yeah.
And that's actually where Te basically came out to his brother. And he was crying, and he told him he really like, actually he didn't tell his
No,
brother.
his
He
brother asked him
who
first, is it Tarn?
actually
Right? And
exactly. So
yeah,
basically, who knows what his brother is feeling, and
yeah,
he actually told Ted that it's okay. I
yeah,
would accept you. I would love you. And he actually told Ted that if mom doesn't accept you instantly, that's okay, but give her time. Give her
yeah,
time, di ba? And in Pipi's choice, in Pipi's case, in Oweo's case, when after the kissing scene, they were under a tree, and then they
yeah,
argued because after the kissing scene, Te was telling, "No, this feeling will eventually fade away. Let's just be
yeah, right.
friends." And then Oweo said, "No, if you don't want me, if you don't want to commit with me, let's never be friends or anything. And then there was a scene with his parents. He was crying and he asked them, "Are you proud of me?" And then the parents told him, "Of course, we're very proud of you because, of course,
Yeah.
after that scene with Te, the feeling of Oweo was, why can't someone be proud of me? I am not someone to be proud of as a boyfriend or
Right.
anything." He's coming from that
Yeah,
emotion,
because
and
before it seemed like his parents were like, "Can you do this? Can you do
yeah, yeah.
communication? What is it? Communication arts? Um, what is it?
Yes,
Yeah.
because
Well,
they were trying to
yeah.
ask him to continue
Take over.
the resort business, yeah, the take over
Right.
the resort business.
Right. Yeah. And so then, he didn't feel like they were proud of him, and they're like, "Oh, wait, no, of course we are."
Yes.
But speaking of this scene between the Te and O, where like Te is trying to push that aside, their feelings aside, and O knows what he wants. We have this dynamic where actually there's three characters I actually want to talk about in this dynamic, where Te knows what he wants for his dream. He knows what he wants in his life. He knows what he wants to do, but he has no idea how he wants to love. On the other hand, and he struggles with trying to find a balance there. On the other hand, you have O, who really is unclear about what he wants to do with his life. And he knows exactly what he wants to do in love. Like even when he starts out liking Bass, right? And then he knows when he stops liking Bass. He never says it out loud, but we can tell from his actions, putting his leg close to and doing things. He knows that he doesn't like Bass anymore.
Yeah.
And then you have, but he still struggles. Once he knows what he also Ted pushes him, to kind of to pursue when he finds out his dream, which is the source of their first conflict. But when Ted pushes him to pursue the dream that he has inspired him to pursue, he still struggles finding balance between the love and goals. And then you have somebody else like Tarn, who has absolutely she knows she likes Ted and she knows what she wants to do. And she says, let's wait so we can build the foundation for our lives and pursue. I will pursue what I want, you pursue what you want, and then we can be together. And so you have like three different kinds of people in this. And those were the thoughts that were moving around in my head, as I rewatched it for the second time. The first time I was just starstruck and and I loved it the whole time. I was just amazed. There's like euphoria. It's a euphoria. But the second time, I was like, okay, I'm starting to see, deeper into this and see these dynamics. So do you have anything to add to that?
Um. Yeah, you've mentioned the contrast between Te and Oreo, and I don't know if you noticed this, but I think it's very symbolic that out of all the friends, the characters, Te is the only one who's wearing a jacket, and
Yeah.
I think that would symbolize of him being very sure of how to express himself, as compared to Te, which is very in denial of how he would love, how he would feel,
Yeah.
and yeah,
And
I love that.
Dad, I'm sorry to interrupt. In some sense,
That's okay.
Dad doesn't even have really an idea how to attract other people, right? He
Yeah.
just is himself, and he's good at the makeup and dressing up when he's going to act and sing. But when it comes time to present himself, do his hair or whatever, he's just lost. And he needs help to figure that out. He hasn't thought about this whole dimension of himself very much.
And one very powerful scene,
Hmm.
and I was so shocked when the first time I saw this scene was when he was masturbating, looking at the photo of Yung Jin, the actor he idolizes,
Yeah.
because he was very, very confused, and he was trying to, it was a very powerful image of someone who was very confused and um, uh, trying to test himself actually if he would masturbate
Yeah.
looking at a man, of an image of a
Yeah.
male,
Right.
but eventually he didn't finish and just started crying and crying, and I
Yeah.
really love this contrast of Te and Oweo, Te being uncertain, and
Right.
Oweo being very sure of himself in terms of expression, because of
Right.
course both both stories are true, both stories are real,
Yeah.
both stories are truth of every every young man who went the same experience. They some would relate to Oweo, some would relate to Te, but both stories are true. And
Yeah, I mean, there's no right way to be gay. There's no right way to be trans.
exactly,
Yeah, nobody can tell you how your experience should be. And I want if there are young people listening to this, don't let anybody tell you that. It doesn't matter where you are. If you have to be secret for your safety, do that. But don't
exactly.
believe what anybody says, about you. If you're not hurting anyone, you're okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Um, yeah. So we have that dynamic going on. But I don't know if you've had an experience like maybe PP had, or like O had, where he falls in love with someone who's straight. I've fallen for a straight boy. That was the first person actually that I liked when I was like 12 years old, was a straight boy, and that's when I realized that I liked him, or that I was
I
gay.
think
That's what
I think
solidified it for
every
me.
I think every gay guy has experience with falling with a straight guy.
Yeah,
Really.
yeah.
Uh,
And after that experience, but how do you deal with it? For me, what I did is, after that one person, I was like, okay, I'm not even going to consider straight people an option, and if I don't know, I'm not going to waste any breath over I didn't waste any breath over feeling or thinking about it very much. After that one guy, I was like, I cut it off here. How
yeah. My experience with that was back in college, and yeah, it was. I didn't even have the chance to actually tell him, because we had moments. So at times I would think, oh, maybe he's not that straight, and maybe this is possible. But eventually, he'll have a girlfriend. So, oh, okay, so he's really straight. At that time, it was very difficult for me. But um, um, right now, in my 30s, I'm wiser now. I know how to manage it. I know if it's someone straight, it's I'm not attracted to straight guys now.
Yeah.
Basically, I am not attracted anymore,
Do you have
because
any? Do you have any? Do you have any advice to younger game? I'm sorry. Go ahead. Finish your thought. But then I have a question for you.
I mean I am not attracted to straight guys now for a relationship in that
Right.
consideration. But of
Yeah.
course,
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
apart
You can
from
always.
being a relationship, I'm attracted to
You can
straight.
always look. Looking's okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um.
And,
But
you friends with them or you flirt.
yeah. And sometimes they like the attention. Do you have any?
They
Do you
like
have
the
any?
attention, and
Yeah.
sometimes they initiate. They initiate the flirting.
Yeah. Yeah. They will. It's funny. But do you have any advice for younger gay men who are struggling with that very thing? Because
Well,
when you're young, like, love can take over your life. The feeling of love, the idea of having a boyfriend, can take over your life and be like very central. So like, how do you what do you think that they should do? in that situation.
Yeah, to I think the younger gays now are more informed and are
Mhm.
more exposed to this kind of realities, falling in love with straight guys. So I would like to think that they would know what to do now as compared to when I was younger. But for those who still can't, manage this kind of emotions with straight guys, um, just know the realities of, that straight men doesn't necessarily fall in love with gay people like us. But if they do, then they are not straight.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, looking at the
We are
spectrum there,
talking,
right?
and we
Yep.
are talking about the love aspect, okay? Because when it
Yeah.
comes to sex, it's a different thing.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's true.
Because
But
straight guys having sex with gay guys doesn't necessarily make them gay. And
right.
I know so many straight guys with gay experiences, and that's fine
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
consent, of course.
Behavior doesn't always mean something. And I think that actually while we should always like be mindful of LGBTQ issues and rights and remember, the culture and where we came from and what we struggled for as a community, I think the actual label of gay and straight and bi is becoming less important. When we were
Absolutely.
children, that's a weird sentence because I always feel like I'm still a teenager. But when we were children,
It also
being
feels weird. It also
yeah,
feels weird whenever I say
well,
younger. Like
yeah,
I don't
yeah,
feel old.
yeah. I don't feel old at all. Yeah. But then I had the uncomfortable experience of having a coworker, speaking of younger gays, who is half my age. And then she didn't know how old I was. And I said how old I was. And she went, ew. And I was like, oh, that was the first time that ever happened. And then she went, I'm sorry. Um, and then people are starting to guess, oh, Robin, you're 35. And I'm like, no, I'm not. Um, but yeah, not yet. Give me 2 years. But yeah, but I
I
don't know.
love how you put your age on your Instagram bio, Robin.
Yeah, I think I don't. I'm not worried about it. Like people can know how
I
old I am.
know.
Yeah, like I like
Exactly. Me too.
I feel comfortable. I feel more and more and more comfortable. Like I am happy to be in my 30s. Being in your 30s is so much more just you're able to just be who you are. And the older I get, the more able I am to be myself and not give a shit about what anybody else thinks. And it's fine.
Exactly.
I like people tell me, why are you like this to me all the time? And I say, I just laugh at them. I just like laugh in their face. Like I don't care. But yeah. And I think that's something that,
Robin,
yeah, go ahead.
Robin, since we're talking about age,
Yeah.
every time I remember every time someone's asking me why I fell in love with the BL series, the BL genre. Sometimes I answer them, these shows make me feel young, especially because the
Yeah.
stories are all set in high school or university, and the kilig feeling, it also makes me feel
Yeah.
young.
Yeah.
And I'm
That's
also I'm
that's
and
true.
I'm also okay revealing my age, which is 20.
Yeah, my grandmother used to say something. She said, "Yeah, after the age of 29, it's amazing how many 29th birthdays I've had." Um, but yeah, for me, oh, Justin's chiming in. She'll do that from time to time. She says Robin classifies himself as an uncle of the BL series, and she generously said that she didn't agree with that. Of BL actors, because I have this thing where a BL actor is very attractive, like Pawat is very attractive to me, but then
I love Pawad.
yeah, then I see his age, and then I go, I have to be his uncle. I
Yeah.
can look far away, but but I'm his uncle. Um, but yeah, and he's just an incredible actor too. Um, And that's why I like some other BLs. But there's another reason I watch BL. Yes, it makes me feel young, but I think part of it is because, and especially for I Told Sunset About You, because it's so beautifully done and so amazing, like with everything we've been talking about, is that it speaks to a teenager in me who didn't see something fulfilled from the media that was there before. There's a way in which media inspires people to behave. Stories teach us how to be human, right? And so we didn't get this when we were younger. We didn't have this. We had to figure it out by ourselves. Whether we heard it from older gay mentors or you know, the very few LGBTQ productions that were available at the time. This is the I Told Sunset About You touched a place in me when I was young, feeling that uncertainty, feeling that that lack of confidence, and just it fed that. And I think I've become more comfortable with myself in the last year because of BL. You know,
Exactly.
I don't know if you feel that.
Robin,
But.
yeah, and Robin, we've discussed this a lot of times in Brightwing Ninang's live, and that it's one of the many reasons, but what that it's one of the major reasons why we fell in love with the BL genre, and why we're very happy that the BL genre actually, you know, grew a wide audience during this pandemic. Because you know, I've known this genre since 2016.
Oh wow.
When it has only you know, relatively fewer audience compared to right now. But I'm so happy that since last year during the pandemic, it had a wide and worldwide audience, and more people are watching these shows, because I'm so happy that to see these stories of gay people or people from the LGBTQIA plus community being shown. And media is very powerful. We don't have this when we were younger. And it's a very important to see your story out there being told, because it makes you feel that it's okay to be you. When I was younger, I would only see um, flamboyant gays, stereotypical gay roles, you know.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so for the longest time, that's the only perception of the of people worldwide of being gay. You know, you're gay if you're wearing a wig, you're wearing makeup, you work in a salon. You know, those stereotypical portrayal of gays. And to see these diverse stories in BL series, and to know that the younger members of our community can see these stories right now, and make them feel like you are valid. This is your story. Look, this is your story, and it's so beautiful. It's okay to fall in love with another man.
Yeah.
That's the best thing I love about BL genre peaking worldwide during this time.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with you 100%. We're running kind of long. I feel like we're having some great conversations. Thank you so much for joining us. Is there one thing that you would want to share about I Told Sunset About You? If you could say anything about it that you haven't said already, is there something that you would say about it now? And if you need some
Well,
time, it's okay.
yeah. I think what I would do right now is, if to those who are listening and watching this discussion about I Told Sunset About You, if you haven't seen this series, this is my all-time favorite so far series, BL series, Thai BL series. Actually, at times I don't want to call it a BL series. It's
Mhm.
actually just a beautiful drama series, you know, of two childhood friends turning into rivals and eventually rekindling their friendship and falling in love with each other. But you know, along the way, someone is ready to accept himself, someone is not, and they will help each other to navigate those struggles and hardships. Um, um, what I love about I told Sas about you and why this is a highly recommended series from me is because one, it's a while the other BL series are adaptation of mangas and novels. I
Yeah.
told Sunset about you is an original story,
Yeah.
and I think that is one great thing that sets it apart from others. But adaptation is not a bad thing. But
No.
this
Yeah.
is a plus points for Nado Bangkok for actually producing an original story of two boys falling in love and their hardships along the way. And um, this is actually a BL series I would love to also ask the cisgender community to watch, and I don't think it would alienate them because just how the story of friendship, the confusion, the desire, the sexual tension, the family, the achieving your dreams, and confusion of feelings. It's heartbreak, pain, all those kinds of universal emotion and stories are very, very well written, well acted, well discussed in this
Yeah.
series. And every episode is really worth talking about. It only has 5 episodes and it has part two. It's called I Promise You the Moon, which I would love
Yeah.
also to talk with you if you would want that, because it's a different, it's a another part of Te and Owe's story, but it's also beautifully done. Basically, this is really a masterpiece story that everyone should see right now.
Yeah. Let's do that. Let's have that discussion. I'm absolutely open to doing that. Yeah. 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 So this has been amazing. Thank you for joining us
Thank
at Pink
you
Milk
so much.
Diaries.
I enjoyed.
Yeah. I think that's a really important thing that you said at the end there, that even if you're straight, even if you're cisgendered, these things, these themes are not just something you should watch so that you have a better understanding of gay experience. Um, it's
Yeah,
it's about love. It's about uncertainty in love.
exactly.
And if you haven't yet listened, you've listened here, but if you haven't yet listened to our Brightwin Weekly episode that Jomar joined us for, please do that. You can search Together Podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. We're not going to have Brightwin Weekly on YouTube, but this is on YouTube. So yeah,
Yay.
follow us on all our social media handles. We only have one handle actually, and it's Together Podcast. Yeah, so you can find everything about Pink Milk Diaries, about Brightwin Weekly, about the deep dives of Together, Still Together, and we're going to be deep diving F4 when we finally get there. So yeah, please stay tuned. Um, Thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you, Jomar, for joining us.
Thank you,
That's a
Melvin.
wrap.
Thank you,
That,
Justin.
yeah, thank you,
Um,
Justin, behind the scenes. Yeah, always pushing me to make a better podcast. So that's a
yeah, I
wrap
think.
for Pink Milk Diaries episode 3. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.